Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here tonight to the Rural and Civic Engagement Rollout for the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. My name is Caroline Griffin. I'm the Director of Rural and Civic Engagement, and I am happy to welcome each and every one of you to our space in our beautiful Capitol Rotunda. To get us started, we will be having remarks by our Executive Director, Chad Dion Lassetier, the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission.
Good evening and welcome. I know that this is the evening, but we're so very much appreciative of all of you that are here. We're also humbled and honored that appropriations, the governor, and so many advocates, both R's and D's on all sides of the aisle, was able to give us a very generous compliment that afforded us an opportunity to analyze and theorize what we need to move forward as it relates to our compliment at PHRC. That's the first context. The initial context was we embarked upon 67 counties in which we did a tour. And that tour was essential because we at the PHRC, though we've been around for 70 years, we're in our 71st year. We have a gala coming up. The context for us was not to engage in what I call a peculiar arrogance, that everyone should know who the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission is. So we set out to go to all 67 counties to introduce who the PHRC is, but it was very participatory, to listen to the things that people from every county said to us. We listened, we learned, that informed how we led. And newsflash, as the executive director, I'm not running for a future office. Secretary Dunn, I did it because there was a need. I also did it for personal reasons. Several decades ago, you all recall when then Democratic strategist James Carville said, you have Philadelphia, you have Pittsburgh, and I see a lot of you nod your head, and then he mentioned what was in between. At the PHRC, we understand by the data over all these years that you have Philadelphia, you have Pittsburgh, and in between, you have people like us. Some of us are Democrats, some of us are Republicans, some of us are atheists, some of us are agnostic, some of us are individuals who, whatever our ideological framework is, we believe in the Commonwealth. Those 67 counties showed us a lot. It taught us a lot. And one of the recommendations out of that was for us to do a report, but unfortunately we weren't able to do it. There was a budget impasse. We wanted to move forward, though, nonetheless, with coming out with one of those recommendations. And one of those recommendations was to establish a director of rural and civic engagement so that there was some synergy in those rural spaces that were uniquely connected to our director of policy and governmental affairs, Alana Berman, raise your hand, so that she would be able to bring the data that a director of rural and civic engagement would have to the forefront to say, these are some of the challenges that are happening in the rural spaces. Not necessarily along the indices of race, right? Because we're seduced into the race and racism. And it exists, and the prejudice and bigotry, it does exist. But a lot of the data was speaking to disability and housing challenges and employment challenges. And so we had a person in our midst who was already in the space of director of fair housing and commercial property. She was a person that was reading about rural white rage, and that is a book. But she intersected rural white rage with rural white hope and rural white aspirations. And newsflash, there are African Americans and others who live in rural areas as well. And so we embarked upon something else called Razor Sharp Barbershop Dialogue, where I would go to barbershops. You know, I still get my hair done from time to time. I would go to barbershops in rural areas and we would listen and we would learn. And so today is historical that we have launched a director of rural and civic engagement position. And that person is the woman that just stood in this, what I believe, sacred space. Caroline Griffin is our director of rural and civic engagement and has been serving in the role since January 5th. Lastly, I'll end by saying for a young man who grew up in South Central Los Angeles and North Philadelphia, getting out to the heartland of our Commonwealth and our democracy, Pennsylvania is beautiful. I would just advise anyone that moves forward with going to the farm show, not to wear a suit like I did, Secretary Dunn. I caught a lot of flack for that. Caroline Griffin has shared with me not to wear a suit. The governor saw it on Instagram and said, you don't wear a suit to the farm show. Nevertheless, we have some really amazing speakers here who are going to be speaking from the context of the necessity for this and the support that we have. I'll end by saying I would be remiss if I didn't thank our commissioners and that conversation, Director Griffin, that we had with Senator Argyle. That conversation that we had with Senator Argyle, where we thought we were going in to talk about how to address anti-Semitism, and it just morphed into the needs of rural communities. And so the PHRC is really excited about the future of this role, and we're excited about partnering with all of our partners that are here and all of those people that support us, and most importantly, from a strengths-based perspective, partnering with our brothers and sisters and all of humanity in rural PA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Lassiter. It is now my distinct honor to welcome to the podium Cindy Dunn, the Secretary of DCNR, to offer remarks on behalf of DCNR.
I'm really gratified to be here tonight, and thank you so much for thinking of us, and thank you for this opportunity to be part of this great movement. I'm not surprised that the wisdom of Director Lassiter and Caroline Griffin came up with this idea. I think it's well needed. Our boss, Governor Shapiro, is really big on listening. You can't know what people need unless you sit down and listen. And that doesn't matter what kind of a community you're in. That's true of human nature. You can't presume, as Director Lassiter said. But we're very happy to join you today. I want to point out one of my colleagues at DCNR, Arlene Marshall Hawkinsmith, our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. So Arlene is really helping us at DCNR listen hard to communities that we haven't interacted with as much and that we haven't had the occasion to interact with. I'm really pleased and proud to say we're very strong in rural areas, but we also straddle the urban-rural divide quite well. We have 124, soon to be 125 state parks, and as you might imagine, many of them are in rural areas. We do have some in urban areas, Point State Park in Pittsburgh and Ridley and Neshaminy and Ben Rush and Philly. But we bring our services to communities everywhere through our grants program, through community parks, local parks, urban tree planting, trail systems. And just knowing of a trail that's near and dear to Director Caroline Griffin's heart, the Schuylkill River Trails, this is a good example. You know, it starts way up in Frackville, a coal mining community up in the coal region of Schuylkill County. And that area has been devastated by loss of jobs and the remnants of the mines, and that landscape needs some love. The people are there, they're wonderful, they love where they live, and they want to be able to live where they live. And this trail, it brings a lot of hope and a lot of opportunity. It goes, you know, from there through to Pottsville, another mining community, and on down through the Gap and into, into Port Clinton and on down into Pottstown and eventually to Philadelphia, through some suburban communities like Phoenixville. So it's just a good example. All along this trail, people have hopes and dreams for their community, and they get out and enjoy this trail. And that's one thing we've noticed on public lands, whether it be our state parks or forests, or whether it be on a trail like that that's been supported and funded by nonprofits and local governments, is people are people when they're in public recreation spaces. Some of the most democratic, I don't mean the political democratic, I mean democracy in the sense of all people. Some of the most democratizing spaces in our landscape in Pennsylvania are the public lands. We all own them. We're all very wealthy because we own this wealth of public lands. And people see each other as people when they're on public lands. They see another family, maybe it looks different than their family, but they're enjoying a picnic, or the kids are playing and they're having fun together. And believe me, if you're on a trail like the Schuylkill River Trail and your bike breaks down, the family that comes along, the person that comes along behind you, will probably offer to help you. And they're not going to ask you your political affiliation first. They're not going to ask you who you voted for. They're not going to ask you what your religion is. They're probably going to help you. So public lands, parks, trails are democratizing spaces. And we've learned a lot from our work in the communities, listening to people, understanding their needs and wants. And what we really find there's a lot more similarities than there are differences across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. People have the same hopes and aspirations. They love their place, they love their community, they want to stay there, they want to support it, they want their kids to have a better future than they had, and I think endeavor like this that hears rural voices and connects them to urban voices is really well thought out and a great idea. We at DCNR are happy to be part of it. In the long run, we look forward to continuing this partnership and as much help as we can give over time. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for thinking of us. We're all in. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Dunn. At this time, I would like to welcome to the podium Deputy Secretary Heidi Secord from the Department of Agriculture. Thank you.
Adjust this a little bit. Not quite as tall as the secretary or the director. Good evening. Thank you so much. I wear many hats here tonight. Not only am I the deputy secretary, I'm also the executive director of the Rural Development Council and a farmer myself. And I really just want to acknowledge and thank both Director Lassiter and Director Griffin for the opportunity to be here tonight, and all of our partners who are here joining us. It's an honor. Just want to start by talking about rural Pennsylvania. You know, when I think about rural Pennsylvania, I don't always think in policies first, right? We think about the people, the communities, our neighbors, the small businesses, the families, and the farmers, right? And people who are not just deeply committed to their communities, but to the land itself. And I think Secretary Dunn touches on that as well, is like, whether it's a farm or whether it's a park, I mean, like, we feel deeply responsible for those, and that's what matters, and that's how, you know, from a farming perspective, you know, we know that what we plant and how you care for it matters. At the Department of Agriculture, you know, we see that every day. Our farms feed our families, support local jobs, and really sustain that rural economy, you know, that is so important. And through programs at the Department of Agriculture, like the Business Development Center and Farmland Preservation, and our many partnerships, you know, even with folks here in the room, are working to expand that access, resources to markets and to the infrastructure that really helps communities thrive. We see how that access can open doors to opportunity, success, and business viability. We have to be talking about business viability in agriculture, and that's how we approach our work. And being intentional about cultivating that equal access, that genuine participation, and real opportunity across both rural and urban communities. And that's where our work truly intersects and connects. And from where I sit and from what I see across the department and in our communities, we all understand truly what's at stake here. Strong communities take intention, follow through, and consistent commitment. So we collectively understand that and know that participation has to be genuine. That's why agriculture has a real role here. It brings people together, right, in ways few things can. So no matter where you live or what your background is, we really rely on that same food system and on the people who make it work. That shared connection gives us that opportunity to build understanding, strengthen relationships, and amplify rural voices. And so we're honored to work alongside partners with PHRC and the Rural and Civic Engagement Division. Really, together, we can ensure that rural communities are not only supported, but truly heard, valued, and positioned for long-term success. So thank you. I look forward to continuing this important work together.
Thank you so much. Deputy Secretary Secord. So now I'd like to take a few moments to talk to you and welcome you again. So good evening, everyone, and I'm so glad that you're here. Tonight, I'm honored to be the first director of this new division at the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Our work starts with a clear understanding from our leadership, listening. As you know, Executive Director Lassiter undertook a 67-county beloved community listening tour. And he did just that. He listened. And to quote my dear friend and colleague, Deputy Director Garcia, he heard. He heard directly from people. He heard all about what was special about their rural communities, the faiths, the work ethic, the families, the pride of the people. He saw the natural beauty of our areas and its resources. And he learned about the obstacles there. That rural Pennsylvanians face not just gaps in opportunity, but a real deficit in the services they need. This turned into conversations. Those conversations have shaped what we do next. We listen with purpose, translate concerns into enforceable actions, and make fairness accessible in every corner of the state. This formed the Rural and Civic Engagement Division and its core commitments to listen and to act. Create easy ways to report unfairness and share feedback so no voice is left unheard. Enforce fairness in everyday life, work, health, education, public accommodation, but also in things that connect to fairness, like transportation and civic participation. Acknowledge dignity through collaboration. That means working with rural residents, tradespeople, farmers, health providers, transportation, IT professionals, and mental health advocates to spread information to ensure services are accessible, culturally competent, and responsive to diverse needs. To work in conjunction with our fierce division directors here at PHRC, so many of them are here tonight, and I thank you all. Director Berman, Intergovernmental Affairs, my co-chair in the AI subcommittee, Amanda Martin, Deputy Director Garcia, Director Meck, our fierce director of our Civil Rights Division, and Chief of Staff Rojas and Special Assistant Fisher. It's so wonderful to see you all here with us tonight. As we partner with state agencies, local governments, and community groups to remove barriers to expand access. And I'm looking, I forgot my dear friend, Director Mellinger. I could never, never want to forget you. Thank you so much for being here, Director Mellinger, who is our Director of Fair Housing and Commercial Property. So, as we listened, some of the concerning topics we heard: healthcare and health access. Rural and dental care deserts are real barriers. Mental health clinics and counseling services. We need better access. We need more rural clinics, maternal health, and care that comes along with, that comes to people where they live. Broadband is a real issue in our areas. It's not enough not to have the internet access. We can't access it in many of the areas, affluent or not so much. People need timely health care, especially our aging and our disabled populations. On other topics of education and minority voices, rural minorities must be heard in policy and school concerns and in planning. We are concerned about improving language access that provide culturally aware materials throughout rural PA. Schools should reflect the changing communities they serve, with resources that help students, teachers, and families in every county. On safety and EMS. Farm safety is a civil rights issue, and hazards put farming families and workers at risk while they provide for this country's food and energy sources. Rural EMS relies on volunteers and aging responders, and with less young people in these communities, we need to keep emergency services strong and accessible. On daily life and mobility, long commutes and irregular work hours affect the health of families, as do unpredictable work schedules, lack of transportation options, and reliable broadband again. To the people of rural Pennsylvania, you're not forgotten. You are not overlooked. We strive to take what we have learned and amplify your voices to join everyone across the Commonwealth. Your voices shape our priorities. Your life experience guide our enforcement plans and policies. Your humanity and dignity is core and the reason for our work. This division commits to the standing excellence of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission to be transparent and practical, enforcing rights, and expanding opportunity for every Pennsylvanian everywhere. A heartfelt thanks to the people who support our work, family and friends of the PHRC who stand here with us, and everyone who is newly acquainted with the PHRC. Your trust, your questions, your collaborations help ensure we do this work well. Thank you, Executive Director Lassiter, for your vision here and throughout this commission in its 70th year, and going strong, and that is thanks largely to your vision. To our commissioners and to all our community members, our friends, our partners, and our colleagues here tonight, thank you so much for taking time from your personal commitments and your families, and for bringing your families to be here. I also thank Deputy Secretary Secord from the Department of Agriculture and Secretary Dunn from DCNR for their leadership, partnership, and commitment to the people of this Commonwealth. Thank you for your investment in this new division. We look forward to turning these commitments into action today and for years to come. Thank you. With that, I would like to conclude our formal program, and I welcome you all to network and so we can get to know each other and have some refreshments in our beautiful rotunda. Isn't it great to be here? Thank you all.